because the promotions itself were so bad. I mean, it's not just the politics of the main actress, it's everything from casting someone who is of mixed race in a role that is literally supposed to be about a woman whose skin is as white as snow.
What started as Disney's safest bet became its worst nightmare when the studio quietly announced a live-action Snow White remake, its latest bid to mine nostalgia from a generation raised on princess dreams. Few imagined the PR storm waiting just beyond the castle gates. At its center stood Rachel Zegler, the 22-year-old rising star fresh off a Tony-worthy debut in West Side Story. To Disney executives, she was the perfect blend of youthful energy and on-screen charisma. To loyal fans, she was a bold choice for the role that defined the studio's earliest triumph. In the weeks following the casting reveal, anticipation crackled across social media. Movie blogs hyped the promise of a modern heroine, and industry insiders praised Disney for daring to innovate. For many, Ziegler's appointment signaled a fresh chapter for the studio's live-action slate, a chance to breathe new life into an 87-year-old classic without losing its timeless heart. Headlines touted the project as career-defining for the young actress and game-changing for Disney's franchise strategy. But beneath the glossy press releases and fanfare lay a quiet tension. Traditionalists wondered if the studio could balance heritage and evolution without alienating its devoted fanbase. Questions surfaced. How much would the original melodies and fairy tale simplicity endure? Would the prince still play his part, or would the Snow White forge her own destiny? At this early stage, optimism and doubt collided in equal measure, setting the scene for a controversy far bigger than anyone imagined.
I'm shocked, but when you have the lead actress playing the title role in the film, coming out and alienating half of its potential audience by saying that Trump supporters, Trump voters, and Trump himself should never know peace. F Donald Trump, that's another one of her lines in the lead up to this film. What do you honestly expect? I mean, they had to stop actually promoting this film.
In the eyes of Disney, this was more than a movie. It was a litmus test for the future of classic storytelling. And in a world where even a single tweet can topple reputations, that test would prove far more perilous than anyone ever anticipated. When Disney revealed Rachel Zegler as the new Snow White in September 2021, excitement rippled through Hollywood. Fresh from her breakout in West Side Story, Zegler embodied modern sensibility and youthful charisma. Trade magazines hailed this casting as a bold stroke, a move that could breathe life into Disney's live-action slate. Early coverage emphasized the film's grandeur. Reports cited a $270 million budget, top-tier visual effects teams, and a musical score blending classic songs with contemporary arrangements. Industry analysts predicted that Zegler's multicultural appeal would expand audience demographics, potentially turning this remake into a sprawling franchise. Teasers dropped by Disney's social channels stoked anticipation. Images of Zegler in her signature dress, framed by CGI forests, generated thousands of retweets under hashtags like #SnowWhite2023 and Zegler Magic. YouTube critics speculated on musical reinterpretations, while fan art surfaced on Instagram, celebrating a stronger, more independent princess. Press interviews further fueled buzz. Zegler spoke passionately about diversifying fairy tales, promising fans a heroine who shapes her own destiny. Directors and writers praised her vision as emblematic of a more inclusive era in storytelling. For many, Disney's choice signaled readiness to evolve with its audience. Yet optimism came with caveats. Would the classic melodies maintain their emotional resonance when updated? Could darker narrative elements balance with family-friendly charm? Online forums buzzed with debate. Some welcomed reinvention, others worried tradition might be lost. Despite lingering questions, the prevailing sentiment was clear. Disney appeared to have found a golden ticket. A talented young star, a lavish production, and a promise of progressive storytelling seemed a recipe for success. Little did anyone suspect that early optimism would soon give way to one of the most turbulent PR crises in the studio's history. Confidence soared as industry insiders touted this as Disney's next milestone. From the moment Rachel Zegler began talking about her Snow White, opinion pieces multiplied. In one interview, she dismissed the classic love story as not the point at all, insisting that her version would empower rather than enchant. In another candid moment, she declared, "She won't be saved by a prince. She's her own hero." For some fans, these remarks felt like a bold reimagining. For many others, they were a profound betrayal of cherished childhood memories. Social media erupted. Longtime Disney admirers took to Twitter and Facebook with heated threads denouncing what they saw as a disrespectful rewrite. Hashtags like Save Snow White trended as fans lamented the loss of timeless romance. Meanwhile, progressive supporters countered with Snow White Strong, framing the controversy as a necessary evolution. Influencers weighed in. Pop culture commentators commentators dissected every nuance of Zegler's words, while fan accounts edited clips to make her appear both visionary and villainous. Entertainment outlets fueled the fire. Headlines alternated between praising Zegler's feminist revolution and accusing her of airbrushing history. Opinion columns published side-by-side comparisons of the 1937 dialogue and Zegler's modern spin, highlighting fans' fear that the remake risked becoming an ideological lecture. On YouTube, reaction videos soared, with creators dedicating entire episodes to debating whether a more independent Snow White could still captivate hearts. The debate spilled into the mainstream press. Late-night talk shows invited guests to weigh in, often lampooning Zegler's statements with comedic sketches. Even academic journals scheduled panels on feminist reinterpretations of fairy tales, citing the Snow White saga as a case study. Amid this cacophony, Disney's PR machine strained to regain control, issuing carefully worded teasers about honoring the spirit of the original while promising fresh perspectives. But the controversy had already taken root. What was meant to be a conversation about creative vision became a cultural battleground, proof that in today's hyper-connected world, every word from a high-profile star can ignite a wildfire of public opinion. Disney would soon learn that managing a global fanbase's passionate beliefs was far more complex than rewriting a script. As debates over Rachel Zegler's reinterpretation of Snow White intensified, social media platforms exploded with fervent reactions. Twitter threads soared as thousands shared screenshots of her interviews, dissecting every phrase. Fan pages on Facebook hosted heated debates, with comments sections divided between staunch defenders and vehement critics. TikTok creators produced reaction videos pairing Zegler's clips with dramatic captions. Memes proliferated across Instagram, recasting her bold statements as both empowering slogans and punchlines. Influencers seized the moment. Some posted supportive live streams arguing for creative evolution, while others slammed the remake as a needless assault on tradition. Hashtag wars erupted, Snow White strong, clashed with #BringBackThePrincess, turning simple retweets into ideological statements. Contributors on Reddit and specialized forums further fueled the frenzy with in-depth dissection. This frenzied online environment forced Disney's marketing team into reactive mode. Every new clip, tweet, or meme demanded a strategic response, praising inclusive themes here, downplaying controversial remarks there. But the faster Disney moved, the more the narrative seemed to slip through its grasp. In the digital arena, public sentiment shifted by the second, proving that controlling a global conversation, once impossible, had become an essential yet elusive skill for any studio facing modern fandom. As Backlash soared, Disney CEO Bob Iger broke silence with a public statement acknowledging fan concerns and affirming Disney's commitment to honoring the original while exploring fresh perspectives. Iger emphasized that creative teams were revisiting narrative elements to ensure emotional authenticity and respect for nostalgia. The speech aired on major networks, and investors reacted positively with a stock bump, an indicator that leadership transparency can calm financial nerves. Nevertheless, fan reactions varied. Some appreciated Iger's candor, hoping it signaled real course correction. Others dismissed his comments as corporate spin lacking substantive change. Recognizing that words alone wouldn't suffice, Iger convened an emergency session with senior executives, including heads of marketing, production, and legal. Internal documents described a brainstorming process tackling tough options, targeted reshoot schedules, adjusted release strategies, a hybrid theatrical streaming window or early digital premiere, and revised promotional focus, potentially minimizing Rachel Zegler's early interviews. Insiders revealed that Iger personally reviewed proposals to revise character arcs, weighing the risks of significant narrative adjustments so close to release. He also pushed for direct fan engagement through moderated Q&A sessions to rebuild trust. While such measures are atypical for a project of this scale, they underscored the high stakes. Iger's dual approach, public reassurance backed by behind-the-scenes crisis management, demonstrated that even the world's largest entertainment conglomerate must adapt swiftly in an era where fan sentiment drives a story's fate. His intervention set a new precedent for executive accountability in the age of instant communication. This move underscored Iger's resolve. By early 2025, Disney's confidence was faltering. Initial test screenings in Los Angeles and New York yielded harsh feedback. Viewers described the film as tonally disjointed, complaining that key musical numbers dragged and that Snow White's character arc felt obscured by heavy-handed messaging. Reports circulated of restless audiences checking their phones during what should have been the emotional centerpiece, a reimagined "Someday My Prince Will Come." Focus groups lamented the loss of fairy tale wonder, calling the modernized dialogue preachy and overly earnest. Alarm bells rang through the studio's executive suites. Within days, Disney assembled a crisis task force. Producers, editors, marketing heads, and even outside consultants were enlisted to triage the film's problems. Emergency memos outlined sweeping corrective measures, reshoot schedules, schedules, scene resequencing, and new musical arrangements. High-profile directors from other Disney tentpoles were flown in for fresh perspective, while editors worked around the clock to splice unfinished cuts. Meanwhile, the budget soared. What began as a $270 million production swelled by an additional $30 million in reshoot costs and accelerated post-production. Studios that typically pad margins by planning reshoots well in advance found themselves scrambling to clear sound stages and resecure cast availability, an expensive logistical puzzle. Internally, morale wavered. Creative teams bristled at last-minute notes demanding more heart and joy, even as marketing chiefs urged PR-friendly footage. Legal counsel flagged contractual deadlines for actor approvals and music clearances, warning that missing guild dates could derail the release entirely. With the theatrical premiere only months away, Disney faced a stark choice: push forward with a compromised cut, or delay the launch, and risk losing lucrative summer box office windows. As panic rippled through Burbank, the test screening fallout crystallized a painful truth. Rewriting a fairy tale is never just about updating the story. It's about safeguarding the magic that generations hold dear. Disney's reshoot frenzy became a cautionary tale in its own right, illustrating how high-stakes filmmaking can unravel when core audience expectations collide with creative ambition. As the studio scrambled to contain the damage, whispers began circulating that Rachel Zegler's future with Disney was in jeopardy. Industry insiders claimed executives were considering drastic measures, ranging from reducing her on-screen presence to cutting promotional interviews altogether. The most sensational rumor suggested Disney would blacklist her from future projects, effectively severing ties with the once promising lead. In Hollywood parlance, blacklisting often hints at a studio's intention to distance itself from talent deemed risky, and these rumors spread like wildfire. News outlets quickly seized on speculation. Would Disney really sideline the actress who embodied its multi-million-dollar gamble? Entertainment columnists debated whether such a move was legally and ethically feasible, drawing comparisons to past controversies in which studios quietly recast or minimized actors at the last minute. Social media chatter grew more fervent as anonymous sources claimed that Zegler's contract negotiations for upcoming films had stalled, and that her name was conspicuously absent from internal marketing decks. Beyond immediate concerns over the remake itself, the fallout rippled across Disney's broader brand ecosystem. Merchandising partners hesitated to commit to large toy orders, fearing backlash from fans who already felt alienated. Theme park designers paused plans to update classic Snow White attractions. Executives feared that linking the parks too closely with a controversial version would alienate parkgoers. Even corporate sponsors of pre-release events weighed the potential PR risks, with some reportedly pulling back from co-branded campaigns. For Disney, the blacklist rumors crystallized a deeper crisis. The studio's carefully cultivated image of family-friendly magic was under strain, threatening not only one film, but its entire legacy. As official statements remained vague and non-committal, observers interpreted the silence as tacit confirmation that relations between Zegler and Disney had soured. And in an industry where perception can be as powerful as box office returns, the very idea of blacklisting a high-profile star underscored how profoundly this PR nightmare had shaken the House of Mouse. The Snow White debacle and Minecraft's meteoric rise together crystallize a pivotal lesson for Hollywood. Authenticity and emotional resonance must anchor blockbuster storytelling. Legacy IP alone no longer guarantees success. Studios must strike a delicate balance between honoring timeless narratives and embracing fresh perspectives without alienating core audiences. In the wake of this saga, several industry shifts are already afoot. Strategic story development. Studios are reevaluating writer room processes to prioritize audience empathy. Rather than retrofit messages into existing plots, creative teams will embed thematic depth organically, ensuring character motivations drive the story rather than serve as overt moralizing vehicles. Enhanced test screening protocols. The crisis exposed the danger of late-stage feedback fiascos. Going forward, test screenings will be iterative and data-informed, with multiple preview rounds that allow for meaningful adjustments well before post-production crunch time. Marketing transparency. Disney's reactive PR highlighted the risks of over-controlled messaging. Marketing departments across the industry are exploring more transparent campaigns, sharing genuine behind-the-scenes moments and engaging directly with fan communities to build goodwill rather than engineering contrived controversies. Talent relations and brand alignment. The blacklisting rumors underscore the importance of aligning casting decisions with a project's ethos. Studios will likely include more robust image management clauses in contracts and collaborate closely with talent on public messaging to prevent future disconnects. Hybrid release models. With Minecraft Studio capitalizing on family-friendly streaming partnerships, theatrical distributors are accelerating hybrid release experiments. Early digital windows may become standard for films with niche or divisive elements, mitigating box office risks. As the dust settles on this high-profile clash of visions, one truth stands clear. In an era of instant communication and passionate fandoms, it's not enough to retell a cherished story. Filmmakers must rekindle its heart. Future tentpoles will be judged not just by spectacle or legacy pedigree, but by their ability to forge an authentic emotional bond. The House of Mouse, like all studios, now faces the challenge of reinventing without betraying the magic that sparked imaginations in the first place. What began as a promising reimagining of a beloved classic spiraled into a cautionary tale about the power and peril of modern storytelling. Disney's ambitious Snow White remake, anchored by Rachel Zegler's star power and a massive budget, became ensnared in controversies over feminist reframing, social media backlash, and high-stakes executive interventions. Hybrid release models. With Minecraft Studio capitalizing on family-friendly streaming partnerships, theatrical distributors are accelerating hybrid release experiments. Early digital windows may become standard for films with niche or divisive elements, mitigating box office risks. As the dust settles on this high-profile clash of visions, one truth stands clear. In an era of instant communication and passionate fandoms, it's not enough to retell a cherished story. Filmmakers must rekindle its heart. Future tentpoles will be judged not just by spectacle or legacy pedigree, but by their ability to forge an authentic emotional bond. The House of Mouse, like all studios, now faces the challenge of reinventing without betraying the magic that sparked imaginations in the first place. What began as a promising reimagining of a beloved classic spiraled into a cautionary tale about the power and peril of modern storytelling. Disney's ambitious Snow White remake, anchored by Rachel Zegler's star power and a massive budget, became ensnared in controversies over feminist reframing, social media backlash, and high-stakes executive interventions. Meanwhile, the Minecraft movie quietly demonstrated that audiences still crave genuine joy and simplicity over heavy messaging. For Disney, the fallout goes far beyond box office returns. It has prompted a reckoning about how to honor legacy IP while keeping narratives fresh, how to involve fans early without inviting unmanageable scrutiny, and how to align talent, marketing, and messaging around a cohesive vision. The blacklisting rumors, even if never confirmed, underscore the dangers of misaligned expectations between studio and star, and the ripple effects on merchandising, theme parks, and corporate partnerships. As Hollywood looks to the next wave of remakes and tentpole franchises, the Snow White saga serves as a blueprint. Invest in authentic emotional cores, engage audiences transparently, and remember that nostalgia must be earned through heartfelt storytelling, not engineered through controversy. Only by rekindling the magic at the heart of these tales can studios hope to captivate new generations without betraying the childhood dreams of those who came before. Subscribe!